Hello, I'm Dr. Kajal from Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow, a faculty of business communication, and what this flipped video is going to be covering today is the fundamentals of business writing. Now, you might be wondering that in the age of ChatGPT, why on earth should you be learning business writing? Nevertheless, there is nothing like the personal touch. So no matter how many AIs come out in the future to type out your own business letters, trust me, until we become cyborgs, the only thing which is going to differentiate us from one another is our personal touch. Therefore, whenever we are talking about business writing, the idea is to cut across yourself, put across yourself in terms of personality. So this short flipped video is just going to be covering the basics. I'll begin by a little trivia. And I would like to ask you a question, that is, how many words would you need to build an effective business letter? Just think of a number, any number roughly that comes to your mind. Well, assuming that you would have thought of it, you'd be surprised and rather shocked to know that it took just 19 words to build an effective business letter. And this business letter is out there in front of you. It is, I quote, "You have undertaken to cheat me. I won't sue you, for the law is too slow. I'll ruin you. Yours truly, Cornelius Vanderbilt." Now, Cornelius Vanderbilt, to give you a little bit of history and background about who he was in fact a business tycoon, and when he was away on vacation, his business partners decided to cheat on him. If you look at this business letter very, very closely, you would notice that it is composed of just 19 words, barring of course the ending, right? So which means you don't need to be verbose in order to have an effective business letter. What you need to be is effective in terms of writing. Now, when we talk of effectiveness, there is in fact the 7 C's of communication, which I would like you to check out on your own. We'll be discussing that in class. Moving ahead, if we talk about the types of business messages, there are 4 types of business messages categorically. The first is positive, you then have the negative, the neutral, and lastly, we have what is termed as the persuasive business message. Now, if you were to think of an idea or an example of a positive business message, very simple. You have applied for an interview and you get a call letter saying that you have in fact been selected for a particular post. This is a positive business letter, right? A negative, just the reverse. You have applied for a post and unfortunately you have got dejected or rejected. Therefore, that becomes negative. In terms of neutral business messages, we have what is termed as the business policy messages, or if you have got an organizational policy, some kind of information which you'd like to delve out to your colleagues, your peers, your superiors, that would come under neutral. And of course, you have got the persuasive messages, which, as the name suggests, means that you would want the reader to do something post reading your message or your letter, right? These are persuasive. So an example of a persuasive message would be that you have given a letter of sponsorship, seeking sponsorship in fact for a particular event. How is it that you would be going ahead drafting that letter? So if we talk about the approaches to writing these business messages, there are 2 approaches, categorically speaking. The first is the direct or the deductive approach. Now, this is used for messages which are either positive or neutral. Why? Because in both these cases, the kind of audience that you would be having would either be pleased with what it is that you're saying. Just think of the example I spoke about a few seconds ago, wherein you have got selected for a job. So bingo, you begin the letter bang on the point. You then have an audience which could be mildly interested or neutral. And this approach is termed as deductive or direct, like I stated earlier on. The second approach, of course, is the indirect or the inductive. Now, this is used for negative or persuasive messages. Why? Because in both these cases, the kind of audience that you would be having would be either uninterested, unwilling, displeased, or even hostile. So you don't want to begin off on the wrong foot. What you would be doing in these cases would be building a base, a background. That is, you build the base before delivering the bad news. You put in the bad news in the middle, and you end it off with a word of optimism, right? So these are the approaches. Now, what I want you to focus on specifically today is the persuasive message. In this case, when we talk of persuasive business writing, we would be talking about the IDA approach. And the IDA approach as is out there in front of you, is nothing else but an acronym for the word attention, interest, desire, and action. So what exactly you do is you build the attention of the person who is reading out your business message. You arouse that interest, and then you have built in a desire for the reader that, okay, this is what I want to do. And by the end of it, it leads to action in terms of buying whatever it is that you have to say in words, right? So attention, you just grab the eyes and ears of the reader out there in front of you. Interest, yes, I want to know about this more. Desire, oh, I wish I could have it. And action, I'm definitely going in for it, right? So think of when you would be doing this apart from the letter of sponsorship. And once you have thought of a few examples, what I want you to do is build a letter based on this, which is, as part of the student development committee, you are to bring in sponsorship for the annual fest. So draft a letter of sponsorship, and you are supposed to be inventing details.